Welcome back to CC's Garage. I finished up the setup of getting the ProFlow 4-iron, the heads, cranked the truck up, was getting everything set up, and had another issue come up. This issue is the oil pump decided to lock up. So today, instead of having a first run on the motor, we're going to get into another project. We're going to drop the oil pan, we're going to change the oil pump, put in an ARP oil pump drive shaft, and also going to go ahead and do the timing chain while we're here and put a new harmonic balancer on. You know, as you work on things, things happen. And I want to apologize over the last couple of videos. I know I struggled a little more than usual to think of what I wanted to say. Well, I was sick. I had a little stomach bug, so my videos aren't the best in the world, but when I get sick, they're going to get worse. Again, I wish you will comment. Let me know what I need to do to improve. Let me know what you like, what you dislike. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I'm new to this and I'm trying. I want to get better with good constructive criticism. But let's don't get rude with the criticism. Let's make it constructive. Help me make my channel better. Well, I'm going to get off here and get everything set up and show you what we're going to do. I got to thinking I might should show you how I figured out it was the oil pump. First, I noticed I had a little bit of ticking in the lifters. Went around and checked and had no oil pressure on the gauge, so I shut the motor off. Pulled the distributor. And you can't see it down in the hole, but there's the 1/4-inch drive shaft that comes out of the pump that goes to the bottom of the distributor. So I took a 1/4-inch socket and a ratchet and stuck down in there on it, and you can see the pump won't turn at all. I've got another engine in here, and when you stick this down in there, you see how easy it turns? That's how I knew the oil pump had locked up. Okay, I've got the front of the engine tore down here. Water pump's off, alternator's undone, power steering bracket's undone. I'll be pulling the timing cover, harmonic balancer. I did put this one bolt back in because these bolts thread straight into the water passage, so, or coolant passage, so by putting this back in, it kept the coolant from running out of that hole. Okay, I'm back for show you something else. Pulled the pulley off already. This is part of the harmonic balancer puller installer setup I have. You find the bolts that go in to hold this in place. Then it comes with a couple of different size rods. Go with the short one. And these slide up into the crank. And then you thread this in. Now when you're setting this up, you want to make sure that this is parallel with this, because if it's deviating any, it's liable to bend one of these bolts, and then you're going to have a hard time getting the balancer dampener off. You tighten it up, and then you come in with either a 3/4 socket on a ratchet if you can get between the radiator, which I can't. So I'm going to go grab a 3/4 inch wrench. So I just got me a 3/4 inch gear wrench to put on here. Now the last thing about these kits is if you don't have one, you can rent them from places like AutoZone, Advanced, O'Reilly's. What you do is you go in there and you basically pay for them. You use them and you take them back. One thing I will suggest when you go to get them is you check the box that they're in before you leave with them. Make sure all the parts are there and all the parts are in good working order. Because a lot of people have a bad habit of abusing these tools and taking them back. And the people at the parts store don't always look at them to make sure they're right. They just take them back, give them their money back, and then they find out down the road they're broke. And the next poor person that needs it ends up stuck renting a tool that they have to go back and get other parts for, or they don't have another one in the store. And then you're really stuck having to look around to find a part to the tool to get the part off you need. You don't want to beat on these items with hammers or anything. It's just going to cause you more problems. Balancer's off. Now this is a special sleeve that they use on the FEs that I'm sliding back and forth right now. If I remember, you got to pull the keyway here out to get it off. And I'll pull you out from under here. And this is just a little view of the kit. It comes with most standard bolts. Now, sometimes you do have to add different bolts to get it to work. Like I'm taking this one off. I needed something different size. Another one of the pullers there. I added this push rod in. As you can see, it's longer than the others, and it really is a push rod from a motor. Adapters that are used when you go to put the balancer back on, the thrust bearing, just a few other odds and ends. One thing I will say is if you ever do rent one of these, the label is on the bottom. So watch out for it when you go to open it. You'll be picking parts up everywhere. Okay, I got all the bolts undone on the timing cover out of the oil pan. This one and this one are still in. This one's in because I know coolant runs out of that hole, and I'm not sure about this one, so I just left it in. Now the next thing you want to do is get the timing cover broke loose from the block, which, as you can see, wasn't that hard of a job for a change. You want to use something like a putty knife, something thin that's not going to go in here and damage the metal on the timing cover or the block. I mean, you might be tempted to grab a screwdriver, but don't. Okay, got the timing cover off. Timing chain doesn't have a lot of slack in it. The dots do line up. There is one thing I noticed about this, and you can see in the camera. It's got a fiber gear on it. Well, I could have stuck with that one, but I went ahead because I didn't know what it was going to look like when I got in there, and I ordered this clots. You will notice this one is different than the other one. See how this one's got the fiber gear and this one's all metal? The nice thing about it being all metal is that fiber gear will strip off. That was a design they did 70s, 80s. I don't know if it was just to quieten them down or they thought it would save weight. But a lot of them have been known to shear off and leave you stranded on the side of the road, so a metal one is definitely better. And I haven't gone out of any of the tools that I've been using. Basically everything I've been using is, you know, regular hand tools, the balance puller installer, but this time I've also used 3/8 impact. I was going to use this 1/2 inch air, but it wouldn't fit in there to get the harmonic balancer bolt off, so I used my rigid 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to get back under here and drain the oil, and then get the pan pulled out of the way. And you can see the oil pump is right here. So we'll get in there and get that pulled, and then I'll start, I'll run you when I get the pan off. Okay, I got the oil pan drained. I did like I did the last time, piece of cardboard between the oil pan and the frame. And the nice thing is, you can look in this oil. I mean, it wasn't running that long, but there is not a reflection of metal anywhere in it. So I'm hoping I got lucky and it didn't mess any of that up. Okay, I got all the oil bolts loose from the oil pan, so let's see if we can get it out of here. Yep, face full of oil, just what I wanted. And I'm hoping there's enough room, like that wasn't oil, that was coolant running down. I'm hoping there's enough room to get this oil pan to come out, which it's not looking good. Okay. Let's start a wire over. Well, I'm going to have to do what I was hoping not to do. I'm going to have to undo the motor mounts and jack the motor up. But it's still nice I can do that and not have to pull the whole motor out to replace it like I would on some cars. Okay, I used my engine hoist to lift the motor up. Down here. And as you can see, the whole bottom ends, oil pan's taken off. I did have to lift the motor up. To get the pan off, I had to pull the oil pump off of the block, or it wouldn't come out. But I did find out some good stains. Hold on a minute and I'll show you what I found. The oil pump didn't go bad. I don't know if you can tell there. I'll turn it this way, get the sun behind me. Yeah, the shaft's a little bit bent. So that's why it was locking up. I'm still going to replace the oil pump though. Well, I finally got the timing chain, which I've had it on there set up, but I finally got the oil pan back on with the oil pump. And you can see the edge of the windage tray there. Oh, getting that oil pan to line back up was fun. Changing the oil pump and shaft out in the truck can be done. You got to raise the motor up. Getting the oil pan lined back up would have been easier without the windage tray. But by adding the windage tray, it helps keep the oil from aerating, which is getting air in the oil. Well, air doesn't lubricate the system, doesn't cool the system either. Windage also, the oil hanging on a crank will cause a parasitic loss in power. So it's not going to free up a lot of horsepower, but overall it'll just make the engine better. And even the factory oil pan had a sort of crank scraper in it in the bottom, which when you look at this, where my finger's pointing right there, that goes all the way down in the rotation of the crank. That will be close to where the crank turns, and the oil will catch and it'll pull any oil that's hanging on the end of the throws off. I'll go in here and show you another oil pan what I'm talking about. Well, instead of showing you in the garage, I just brought it on outside. Right here's what I'm talking about. The crank scraper is the crank will come around this way. As it gets close to this, the throws don't touch. You can see where they've turned this down to keep those from touching there. Or it'll pull the excess oil off. The biggest reason I had to change this oil pan is right here. There's a hole in the pan itself. Kind of hard to see, but I could have welded it up. But in the long run, I was just better off to go ahead and replace it, because there was some other pitting in it and everything. So I'm going to get off here, and I'll come back when I get the timing cover and balancer now on. Okay, timing cover's back on. All the bolts are in except that one, and that one there holds the timing pointer, which I got a new one with it, in place. Now before you put the new balancer on, the FAs come with a spacer sleeve. Probably not the proper name, but it's basically what it does. Got a new seal in the housing, so what I want to do is I'm going to come around the outside of this with some wheel bearing grease. That way there's something on there till the oil picks up and it doesn't burn up the seal. Yeah, barely got it in there. Setting it on top of a battery for a filming position is not a good thing. There we go. So the seal will run in this area, so I'm just going to put a liberal amount of grease on it. There is a keyway. Pick it up here. And in this, you see it's at the top. The keyway on the crank down here is pointing towards the top. So what you'll do is just come in and now push it in the rest of the way. Okay, I got it seated. What I did is I took a piece of wood and just put up against it, and then against the wood I just took a hammer and just tapped it till it went in. Not hard, just enough pressure to get it to go around the seal. That way it didn't mess the seal up. Now before the balancer goes on, I've got to change out this pulley since it's a single groove. Mine requires the double groove. I went with the new balancer just because I didn't know if the old one had slipped on the ring or not. And it's all good insurance. Okay, got the pulley off. You can see on the back of the single groove it's got a raised lip. The new one comes with the spacer to go on to space the pulley out. That way you keep your alignment of your belts in the same position. Now, the bolts that come with the new one are designed to countersink down into the pulley here. The factory one doesn't have that, so you'll be reusing the factory bolts, and then just torque them to spec. Okay, I got the pulley on. Get under here with the balancer. One thing to remember, I put grease on it, but there's a keyway in the crank, in the dampener, and in the crank, and you don't forget to put the key back in it, because that's what keeps your balancer from spinning. So what we'll do, we'll take the crank, the keyway's on the bottom here. just get it started. And then earlier in one of the other videos I showed using a puller to pull this off. In that same kit there is an installer, so I'm going to go grab it and show you how to set it up and use it. Okay, in the kit, you know, the pullers, it comes with this shaft, a bearing, and then on the shaft, and then there's different size adapters for your crank. 3/4, 16, 7/16, 20 that screw into the end of this installer. And what you'll do from there is you'll come back up under the, you'll go to your crank, and screw the adapter that fits your vehicle. Into the crank. I swear that's one I just threaded in there. Okay, you'll thread the adapter in, then you'll okay, I'll be back. Okay, I had the right adapter in the end in the beginning. I just had it turned the wrong way into the installer. You run the nut up against the bearing. The shaft holds with a 5/8, the nut's 1 1/4 inches. And then you just rotate the nut, and as you do, it pushes the balancer into place. Keeps you from cocking it, misaligning anything. Right now, I wish I had a ratchet and gear wrench for this one. And I don't know if you can tell, it's sliding back, sliding on there. And what you do is you'll just take it until it's fully seated. And that's it. Then just back it back off. And the adapter come out with it. And there was still threads left, so we know when it stopped it was good. Well, I got the oil pan back on. It was a little fun getting the windage tray on with the oil pump already on. You can do it with the oil pump on, but you can't do it with the oil pump pickup on. So I had to pull the oil pump pickup, and there goes a plane overhead. I pulled the oil pump pickup off, got it in place, got it all tightened back up, got everything put back in place. As you can kind of get a look here, I have been driving the vehicle I guess about 4 or 5 days now. I've probably put 300-400 miles on it since then. When I programmed the Edelbrock plow throw, and I did like it said, I punched in the cubic inches and all that, it put a tune of, and I'd have to look at the numbers exactly, hold on. Okay, put a tune of 5021 in, which is for 381 to 405 cubic inches. Well, I went back and changed it to 5011, which is for 331 to 380, since I am running a 360. It did make a little bit of difference in timing. I did have an issue with the O2 sensor. First it pegged out at Wayland. Then it pegged out at White Ridge after I did their test, that heating it up, and it showed it was working. Evidently the panel in it was sticking. Put a new one in, not had any problems. Truck fires right up. Here we go. And we actually have good oil pressure now. It's idling about 800, 900 RPMs. And got right back. And has a decent sound.